What's up, NBA fan? What's up, all sports fans? This your boy JB, host of the Behind the Bench podcast networking channel. Giving a shout out to the rest of the crew: Shy, Kelvin, KB Film Room, Big Dog Talk Sports. That's right. That's right. For everyone who's tuning in, keep supporting Behind the Bench. Keep subscribing to the channel and helping us become the best show that we can be. Because without your help and support, the existence of Behind the Bench would not even take place, or the motivation to keep it going would not take place. So I just want to throw that out there. Really appreciate you tuning in and listening to our content on the real, no doubt about it. Like I said, this is a grassroots channel. We're not really popular compared to other major content providers on YouTube in regards to the world of sports, but we're slowly getting there. As I say, quality over quantity. That's really our goal, you know. And there's other outstanding YouTube providers out there that have the same vision and focus. So we just want to give them a shout out as well if they come across our videos at any time. But I want to talk about something, and this just hit me minutes ago. I said I'm gonna do a video about it and get my honest take on the state of the NBA, the current state of the NBA, as we're now, watching the new season, the 24-25 NBA campaign unfold 3 weeks in. And I've been watching the NBA a very long time. A very long time, I should say. And I've seen a lot of great moments, man, as a fan myself, And I'm not trying to single myself. I'm just trying to give my perspective on things. And I started watching NBA at a very young age. Right when the ABA folded and its players were adopted by the NBA. Or you could say that the ABA merged with the NBA. This was back in 1976. And I've watched basketball throughout the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s, and the current decade of the 2020s. And I appreciate basketball in every decade, because this is the greatest basketball league of all time, and nothing will replace it. It took a lot of blood, sweat, and tear by pioneers when this league first kicked off in 1946. And I'm not trying to be introspective. I'm just trying to set a backdrop for what I want to talk about. And without their contribution, we don't have the NBA today. And for that reason alone, I do not compare eras. I don't compare eras. It really don't make any sense to do that. Without the 40s, you don't get the 50s. Without the 50s, you don't get the 60s. Without the 60s, you don't get the 70s. Without the 70s, you don't get the 80s. Without the 80s, you don't get the 90s. Without the 90s, you don't get the 2000s. Get the picture? Without the 2000s, you don't get the 2010s. Without the 2010s, you don't get the present decade. Okay. What I'm trying to say is, the reason that this hit me just now to do is because over the past 10 years, previous eras have been downgraded, chided, mocked, trashed. You know what I mean? and disregarded. That's a very bad precedent. You don't see that in baseball, as we just witnessed two all-time story franchises go at each other and face each other in the World Series. And the reason there was so many people that was eager to watch those two story franchises, the Los Angeles Dodgers, who went on to win the World Series, and the New York Yankees, is because, first of all, their rivalry goes back to the 50s when Jackie Robinson became the first black athlete to participate in Major League Baseball. That's when their rivalry kicked off in the 50s. Well, he, as they say, he broke the color line in 1947, but the rivalry between the New York Yankees and what used to be would start off as the Brooklyn Dodgers, they started a rivalry. So because of that mystique, just the historical impact of that, that's why so many people are like, man, I can't, man, the Yankees versus the Dodgers, let's get it on. And then you have the St. Louis Cardinals. Those are the three most storied franchises in baseball history in terms of world championships. Yankees got 20, I believe they have 27. Dodgers just won their 8th World Series. The Cardinals have 11. So anytime they face off in the World Series, it's must-see TV. Football. You have some of the most long-standing rivalries in football. The most long-standing rivalry in football is the Chicago Bears versus the Green Bay Packers. That thing goes back to the beginning of the 20th century, in the 1900s. That's how far that goes back. That means something. How something like that can carry over decade to decade, and still is prominent and relevant and exciting. You know what I'm saying? The NBA is the only professional sports league between the three where over the past 10 years, the contributions of pioneers and luminaries, is being disregarded. And it's a major turnoff. And that's why, to me, that's one of the contributing factors to declining ratings as this current NBA season has started. But I try to keep a positive view. What I mean by that is, when it comes to these major voices, not necessarily fans per se, it's the major voices because they set the tone. How can I say it? Whatever tone they set, whatever commentary they provide about the NBA, the fans across the landscape are going to follow. You know what I'm saying? The environment created by the major voices is going to filter down to the fans who support the league. Okay. Because I'm doing this on the fly. I'm trying to gather my thoughts here. So what I'm trying to say is, all those voices, whatever they think about the NBA, they need to back off. This is what I'm trying to say. And I believe this picture right here that I chose clearly illustrates how the proper critique can recognize the past contribution, acknowledge the present contribution, and look forward and promote the future contribution. But it's not happening. I'm going to show you proof. Jason Tatum, right, helped lead his team, the Boston Celtics, to the NBA championship last year. Right? They had a dominant season. I believe they won like 64 games. They They led in all the categories as far as like point differential, offensive rating, defensive rating. They had the look of a championship team throughout the season, right? Okay. They win the championship. They talk about the Celtics for 2 days. Then it was back to the same old narrative. Talking about a player who's basically on his way out, but they keep projecting him as the face of the league. And I don't really like focusing on who's the face of the league. It's really about who's winning. And this is where the voices of today's current NBA influence, this is where they continue to miss the mark. When you constantly try to push and promote someone to be the face of the NBA, to continue a narrative and disregard winning, you continue to lower the bar. You continue to lower the standard. The fans pick up on that, and the players pick up on that. And the professionalism displayed by the players take a major hit. I believe that's contributed to a laissez-faire attitude when it comes to many players throughout the league. And this is why you see so many players practice this activity called load management. I believe it's all a trickle-down effect, because the 82-game schedule has existed since the mid-'60s, when they increased the number of games during the course of the regular season. So we've had an 82-game schedule basically since about 1965, 1966. Before then, it was like 81 games prior. Then prior to that, it was like 80 games. Then it was like, prior to that, it was like about 78 games. So over a 10-year period, from the 50s up to the 65, they was increasing the number of games. By the time they really finished with the change in the number of games, they increased it by like 10 games, right? You didn't hear players complain about the 82-game schedule in the 70s or the 60s or the 70s or the 80s or the 90s or even the 2000s. They looked at it like a badge of honor. Reggie Miller used to always say, to play 82-game schedule, to be able to play all 82 games, that's an honor. That's a badge of honor. So when you continue to push an individual, especially when he hasn't been winning, that's discouraging. Giannis Antetokounmpo, and see, I believe what the NBA is doing is a lot of these talking heads, when they talk about the growth of the league, there's, international presence. There's so many great international players that has led the NBA or been the dominant players over the past 5 years, from Giannis Antetokounmpo, Nikola Jokic, Joel Embiid. They've won the last Giannis won the MVP in 2019, 2020. And then Nikola Jokic won the next two MVPs in 2021 and 2022. Joel Embiid won the league MVP in 2023. And then last year, Nikola Jokic won his third league MVP. But they're not promoting the international players in a sincere way. They're promoting the international players to help project this notion that today's NBA is better than yesterday's NBA. It's a self-serving, it's not a genuine means of why they're doing it. So therefore, because it's disingenuous, this is why Giannis Antetokounmpo, after winning the championship of 2021, after leading the Milwaukee Bucks to their first championship in 50 years since 1971, and doing so without forming a super team, you would have thought that the league would have pushed all this promotion that all season, a year into the new decade, behind the newly crowned champion. But they didn't do it. I believe Giannis was discouraged by that. And his overall intensity, he's still a great player. He's still a top 5 player. But when you're not getting the recognition that you know you deserve and earned, you become discouraged, and it hurts the league, and your performance takes a hit. Denver Nuggets last year, Nikola Jokic averaged a 30-point triple-double throughout the postseason. Never been seen before, right? He leads Denver to their first ever championship in franchise history. They talked about Jokic for about 3 days, and he ended the season as the best player in the league. They talked about him for 3 days, and then all off season they talked about the past figure who hasn't won. I'm talking about hasn't so-called won a championship throughout an 82-game schedule since 2016. Hasn't won a league MVP since 2013. But they still trying to engineer a thought process to view him as the face of the league, and is doing damage to the player's psyche, how they approach the game. It permeates on all levels. Commentary, excitement about the future. It's like they don't want to see the torch being passed to the new generation. But they use the young talent. Here go a perfect example of what I'm talking about. They took Anthony Edwards, who was having a tremendous postseason last year. In the first round, he played his best basketball of his career for the Minnesota Timberwolves. They swept the Phoenix Suns in the first round, and he outplayed Kevin Durant. And I've been a huge fan of Kevin Durant ever since he's been in the league, no doubt about it. Where they messed up at, instead of just promoting him as the young superstar talent, where the talking heads messed up was they had to bring up Michael Jordan and compared Anthony Edwards to the season that Jordan had in 1988, when Jordan was the first player ever to win league MVP, scoring champion, defensive player of the year, led the league in steals, averaging over 3 steals a game. Then he won All-Star Game MVP and won the Slam Dunk title. He achieved all of that in one season. And when they compared Anthony Edwards to what they call 88 Jordan, his whole focus took a major hit, and he didn't play the same because they didn't promote him in the proper fashion, him of himself. They had to compare him to Michael Jordan because they're trying to literally erase Michael Jordan from basketball history. It was self-serving, and he didn't play the same. And truth be told, he hasn't played the same since. It carried over to the Olympics. And at the start of this season, instead of just letting him play his game without comparing him to that man back in 1988, they messed his whole psyche up. And what happens is when you do that, when you're young like that and you're confident, and someone poses a question to you about what do you think you'd be able to do against Michael Jordan? You're setting him up to answer the question in a way that's going to bring criticism. And that's exactly what happened to Anthony Edwards this offseason. They set him up for it. That's what I'm trying to say. You didn't see that back then, man. You didn't see that during Jordan's time in the league. Jordan had to go out there and prove it. Now, was Jordan compared to Dr. J? Yes, but it was in terms of his what they call aerobatics, the dunking. But they didn't trash Dr. J to elevate Jordan. You see what I'm saying? Jordan had to prove over time that he deserved to be considered a better basketball player than Dr. J. And Dr. J is still an all-time luminary. He's still, I would say, the greatest ambassador the league has ever had, because he had to represent the league as the ABA disbanded and the NBA was having some image problems in the late 70s. Well, Dr. J carried the torch in a way that we haven't seen an NBA player do. He represented the league as an ambassador in a way that we've never seen a player do before or since. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay. So when they did that, they brought up Jordan when nobody was even thinking about Jordan. You just enjoying the game as is. See, they want to have their cake and eat it too. Okay, like I said, Jason Tatum, he was the championship. They talk about Celtics for 2 days. He gets totally disrespected in the Olympics. He's the reigning champion, right? His teammate, Jaylen Brown, didn't even get selected to represent the Olympics for Team USA. Jason Tatum barely got any clock, any time on the court during the Olympics. He got totally disrespected because they still trying to uphold the past figure that they've been trying to project as the face of the league over the past 10 years, man. And it's holding the league back. Like I said, and it permeates on every level. It's discouraging a lot of players, man, who's out there working hard, doing it by the book, doing it the right way, and they're not getting the recognition. When Michael Jordan was winning those championships, when he started winning those championships, when he went back-to-back in 1991 and 92, every rookie that entered the league that was high profile, that was highly anticipated, there were 2 3-time All-Americans in college, the David Robinsons, the Larry Johnsons, the Shaquille O'Neals, even like Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, Chris Jackson, Purvis Ellison, Alonzo Mourning, the Grant Hills, Danny Mannings, all those players, Glenn Rice, who's coming off a national championship, University of Michigan, they were all getting their shine. Ronnie Cycli coming out of University of Syracuse, they were all getting their shine when they entered the league. All of them. They won, and they was producing when they came in the league. It wasn't like they was hyped up and they weren't doing nothing. Larry Johnson, Rookie of the Year. Shaquille O'Neal, Rookie of the Year. Purvis Ellison, if I'm not mistaken, Purvis Ellison in the league in 1989. Derek Coleman, too. Derek Coleman, out of University of Syracuse, number 2 pick of the 89 draft. They was winning Rookie of the Years. They was producing. They was coming to the league, man, averaging 20 points or more. Dave Robinson, Rookie of the Year. Patrick Ewing, Rookie of the Year. You see what I'm saying? They were all getting their shine, man. And that's why the league was so exciting. That's why the league was in such a healthy state. That's why the 80s were considered the golden era of the NBA. And then Jordan just took it to the next level because of his play, because of his talent, because of his impact, because of his will, because of his competitive fire, because of his ability to win in the highest degree of difficulty. You see what I'm saying? So you had all these prominent college players in the league, man. They was all getting their shine, man, and it was exciting. It was a healthy situation, man. And I kid you not, this the guy's honest truth. Even when the Bulls was pursuing their first three-peat in 1993, the team that led the NBA in merchandise sales that year, it wasn't the Chicago Bulls. It was the Charlotte Hornets. The expansion team Charlotte Hornets featuring Larry Johnson, rookie Alonzo Mourning. Many people thought Alonzo Mourning should have won Rookie of the Year over Shaquille O'Neal. They entered the league the same year in 1992. Alonzo Mourning, to me, he did have a better rookie season than Shaquille O'Neal, and I do believe he should have won Rookie of the Year over Shaquille O'Neal. But nonetheless, they gave it to Shaq. You know what I'm saying? The Charlotte Hornets, Kendall Gill, Larry Johnson, Alonzo Mourning, Muggsy Bogues, David Wingate, Steph Curry's daddy, Dale Curry. They were all on that team. They was number one in merchandise sales because the NBA did an awesome job promoting its players, man. Especially the anticipated players entering the league out of college, because they already had a following. So they just took it to the next level, man. That's not what's happening now in the NBA, man. Victor Wembanyama is in his second year, right? He won Rookie of the Year last year. He had a great rookie season. He played for the San Antonio Spurs. But you really don't get a feeling that he's getting the promotion that he really should be getting. See, how can I say this? They want to highlight. It was almost like the league wanted to brag about the international presence of the NBA compared to yesteryear. And that's what led a lot of basketball fans to lower the bar of expectations about how dominant this year's Olympic team, as far as Team USA, was going to perform in the Olympics, as to why their point differential would not be greater than the original Dream Team. See, that's why I say a lot of fans today don't realize they're being manipulated by the media. So with the NBA, what it is they want to exploit the international presence, but they did not anticipate the international basketball player to overtake the American basketball player in the NBA. That's what they did not anticipate. They didn't anticipate Giannis breaking through and dominating the way he did and becoming the game's most dominant player in 2021, leading Milwaukee to the championship. They didn't anticipate Nikola Jokic doing what he did and eventually becoming an NBA champion, while the guy that they want to continue to be the face of the league, he hasn't won an 82-game schedule championship since 2016 and hasn't won a league MVP since 2013. But they continue to push him and want to have all the help. It is what it is. I don't think I'm saying anything that's off kilter. I'm looking at exactly what it is. And this is why his fans, man, that's who I refer to as the Hurricane, his fans got to understand the league is being held back. And at no time in the past was that the case. When Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, when they dominated the 80s, and when they were the central figures, the top figures of that decade, and they were the top dogs, but they did it. They were the top dogs because they were winning, not because the league wanted them to be the top dogs. They were the top dogs because they was producing the result on the court, winning, competing through the attrition, battling. That's the difference. That's why Magic Johnson, Larry Bird is held in such high esteem over the years until this agenda to disregard the past. Because the reason why these talking heads are disregarding the past, because they know that the standard is not being met by the people that they want to project as the face of the league. They know that. They know that. And the bar has been lowered to such a degree that an environment has been created that a young man was drafted who had no business in the league. If this league was being ran properly and promoted properly, no such environment would exist where we would see something like that happening. It's a mockery. It's a mockery, man. That's what I'm trying to say. So in closing, when a player like the Hurricane, even the Hurricane, man, and I'm against a lot of stuff that he's done over the past 15 years, because that super team era, man, that caused a lot of detriment in the league, man. I'm sorry. I know his fans don't want to hear it, man, but it is what it is. But even someone like that, who's been in the league a long time, you don't want to disregard the contribution of past players, even in a situation like that. But at some point, man, like when Larry Bird and Magic Johnson had a day, they had a day. And like Larry Bird said, during the Dream Team scrimmages, when Michael Jordan was out there doing what he was doing, man, showing him who was the top dog, as they say, the new sheriff in town, Larry Bird told Magic, hey, he said, man, our time is up. We had our day. They knew when to hand the torch over. Michael Jordan, when he retired, to tell you the truth, when he retired in 93, like he said, he had nothing else to prove, man. He really, when you really think about it, when Phil Jackson was trying to convince him to continue playing, Phil Jackson and Michael Jordan had a meeting, you know, and Michael Jordan sat there and asked Phil Jackson, said, what more do I have to prove? And Phil Jackson couldn't provide an answer. This is documented. Phil Jackson couldn't give him an answer because at that point, Michael Jordan really had nothing to prove, man. I mean, man, he took this, he conquered the sport of basketball. And another mistake that the league is making is always trying to compare everybody to Jordan. You do not have to be the greatest player to make a positive contribution to this league, or to wind up being considered one of the all-time greats in your own right. This is what the league is not understanding. So they've built a whole commentary about trying to push a player to convince a basketball populace that a player is better than Michael Jordan, when, in all honesty, there has never been a comparison, and they should just let the league exist in the current state that it's in. If they did that, man, and let this game breathe and stop bringing up Jordan in a negative light every day, trying to because there's nothing they can do to trash that man's career. Nothing. Nothing. Because every so-called argument that they've tried to convince people to believe, it can be countered by facts and historical precedent and real-time testimony and the footage itself. And it's caused the league to grow stagnant when you have all this exciting talent. And one of the positive attributes of the league, to me, is the resurgence of the center position. There's so many great young centers in the league right now that has been developed over the past 4 or 5 years. And I believe that's going to make the game better. And I believe this overabundance on three-point shooting, it will balance itself out in the next 3 to 4 years. And the product will overall be better to where people won't be complaining about, you know, this or that. And another thing, and I'm going to close this out, you know, there's been a lot of talk about the league being soft and all that. I really try not to get off into that. Now, one thing I will say that there could not be a dispute about, the players were more mature entering the league back then versus over the past 15 so years, because they entered the league with multiple years of college experience. That cannot be disputed. The Jordans played 3 years. The Barkleys played three years. Clyde. Most of your centers back then did 4 years. Patrick Ewing did 4 years. Brad Daugherty did 4 years. Tim Duncan did 4 years. Hakeem Olajuwon came out after 3 years. You know, Shaq did 3 years. Alonzo Mourning did 4 years. Dikembe Mutombo, I believe, did 4 years. So Patrick Ewing did 4 years. If I didn't mention him already. So what I'm trying to say is the maturity. Grant Hill, a swing man, he did all 4 years in college, man. So the maturity was more advanced coming into the league versus over the past 15 years with the one and done players. Because you have to give him like a Zion Williamson, a player like that should have stayed in school. He should have stayed in school, and it's kind of, he has a lot of athletic ability, but I think the maturity of understanding what it means to be a franchise player, if he would have stayed in school another year or two, he would have a better understanding. So there's no question about that. There's some small steps that the league can do, man, common sense approaches, man, that can get this league really on the track that it needs to be. And stop focusing on the face of the league. It really should be about teams. And whichever star player on said team takes his team to the top, that should be the player who should get the shine during the offseason as the champion. That's how it always was, man. When Moses Malone outplayed Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in the '83 NBA Finals, Moses Malone was recognized as the best player in the world and got the recognition all offseason, man. That's how it's supposed to go. Jordan was not recognized as the official best player in the NBA until he won his first championship. Everybody in their heart kind of knew, but he had to win to be given that distinction. You see what I'm saying? That expectation, that standard has been eradicated with this super team nonsense over the past 15 years. It's lowered the bar. It's devalued the process of winning. It gives excuses, really, for losing. Because a seed has been planted that, well, there's not enough help. There's not enough help. There's not enough. You need more help. Then everybody becomes scapegoats. And it becomes this vicious cycle instead of getting to the root of the problem. So, like I said, man, the NBA has some positive attributes, man. But the league has to be willing to truly move forward, man. They have to be willing to be able to say we truly moving forward. Because even with Michael Jordan, they would, man, tell you the truth, man. They was trying to find like promote a player of that caliber before he retired the first time, because he raised the bar so high. So quite naturally, you're gonna say, man, we got to try to find another Jordan. You know what I'm saying? But it was in a healthy way. It wasn't in a way that pulled down the league. It was more like, wow, he was so inspirational, man. Everybody wanted to play like that. That's what I'm trying to say. But the NBA has the potential to have another golden era, man. And I'm serious when I say that. And I these voices need, a lot of these prominent voices, man, of recent time is talked about the NBA. I mean, they pretty much had they say, man, and a lot of this commentary is getting repetitive, it's getting redundant, and the commentary is stagnant, man. And I think because of that, I honestly believe it's producing a counter effect where a lot of the young players are not feeling appreciated, man, and it's causing them to lose focus. All this is tied in together, man, and they're making decisions off the court, man, that they probably wouldn't be making if they were promoted properly and not compared to the past as much, So it's either constantly bringing up the past, then it's like either trashing the past. Instead of, see, all parties, man, they got this platform. If they truly want to see the league move forward, man, they have to create the environment and encourage that to be. Because if not, man, the league is going to fall off, and the league will fall off. I know people say that's impossible because you had these streaming services or whatnot, and the league is more available through different mediums than ever before, man. But at the end of the day, it's not about quantity, it's about the quality, man, of just everything surrounding the league. And they need to clean it up, man, because it's becoming redundant. And like I said, anytime you're trying to push someone to the top who hasn't won a league MVP and coming up on 12 years, other dudes out there winning MVPs and they winning championships on 9 super teams, and it's like they're being penalized for it. Jason Tatum out here, man, he playing lights out at the beginning of the season. They barely talking about him. You see what I'm saying? The San Antonio Spurs are 500. I think they 500 6 games into the season, or maybe a game over 500. Ain't nobody really talking about him. It's like they want to propagate chaos, man, and that's really not the way to promote a league, man. And they want to talk about the past so bad. What they need to do is study how the league was promoted back then and what made the environment so healthy. They came up with the slogans back then. NBA is fantastic. Why we love this game. The fan experience, man. The fans was into the games, man. I'm telling you, dog. They can have it again. Look, if someone is not the greatest player of all time, he's not the greatest player of all time. And the guy that they want to make the greatest player of all time, he's not the greatest of all time, dog. Look, if he was truly the greatest of all time, you'll know it deep down in your heart, man. You'll know it. You wouldn't have to try to prove a point every day. You wouldn't have to trash the past. It is what it is. They didn't have to trash the past to prove Jordan's case. They didn't have to trash the past. Matter of fact, Wilt Chamberlain said himself, this was doing the interview during the 90s before Michael Jordan retired the first time in 93. Wilt Chamberlain said every player in the league deserved to give 10% of their salary to Michael Jordan for what he's done for the sport of basketball. Psh. Come on, man. Come on, man. Jordan earned that. He earned that, man. I'm not even a fan of Chicago, but I wasn't a fan of Chicago Bulls. But you knew that man earned that. So like I said, man, there's some positive attributes that's going on with the NBA. The center position. It's a lot of young talent in this league. And I applaud these small market teams for developing their young talent and building viable franchises. You know what I'm saying? Where for years prior, they were bad teams, but now they're understanding, man, and they stay in the course. And I think it's great for the league. But it's like the league don't want to acknowledge that and appreciate that, man. And it's a turnoff. It's a turnoff, man. And they doing it by the book. Cats out here, man, they coming up short and they getting all the praise, dog. Come on, man. I would say this about anybody. Anybody. But if they do it right, you're supposed to appreciate the contributions of the past players of the recent time. You want to acknowledge the presence of the current day player that's leading the way, and you want to show excitement for the future players of tomorrow. And if they get back to that premise, the NBA would be truly great once again. But it's really up to them, man. It's up to the league, man. If they don't, the league will falter. The ratings are showing it right now. And this malaise is impacted. It's impacted, the All-Star game. They don't know what to do with the All-Star game. And it's a simple solution, man. Promote the players. Say this is the 24 greatest players in the world, just like they did back in the day. And with this player empowerment, they need to shun that for good, because it's not providing anything positive for these teams out here for the league. Player empowerment, man, and it don't benefit every player in the league anyway. Because player empowerment is really about superstars, stacking the deck, trading away young talent to make it possible, manipulating the system to achieve that goal. It's not about empowering. It's about manipulating the system. That's really what it's about. They need to get rid of that. Stop all this player move when it comes to superstars, which it is. It is running its course, though. That is a good thing. And respect the game. Respect the past. That's the number one criteria. You have to respect the past, the contributions. When you do that, man, this league will take off once again, man. It's right there. It all depends on if they really want to do it. That's what it comes down to. So sorry for the lengthy video, man. It just popped in my head. I did this on the fly. This is coming truly from the heart. You know, I love the NBA. It's been a lot of great players, man, from all walks of life. You know, all racial backgrounds, ethnicities, nationalities. And it's been a lot of great moments, man. You know, and the league can continue doing that, you know, pushing towards the next decade of the 2030s. But it's up to them as to what they want to do. So I just want to drop that nugget. And until next time, this is JB for BTB Behind the Bench.